So yeah, Peter Thiel is having a conference in Rome. So this is on Reuters. I don't know why they are focused so much on how much attention the church is paying to it, as opposed to just like the contents of what he's talking about himself. Because like there's a whole like, oh, this bishop said that, and this conference of bishops said that, and this cardinal released a statement that said blah. And, like, I don't fucking care. I am more concerned about the billionaire who owns all of our data, who is up there talking about how the world is about to end, and that's actually a goal of his sect of Christianity. Like, that is concerning to me. I don't care what the Catholic Church says. I don't care what the rape cabal says about it.
I'm more concerned with the fact that the dude who has the money to enact that plan is enacting that plan. That part is a little more spooky to me. I'd like a little more focus on that one, because I don't feel like that should be the case. I don't feel like we should have people who have a fuck ton of power, money, and influence, and have access to every single one of our records. And it's like even weird like personal shit, because there are people who use ChatGPT as a fucking therapist. So it's got access to all kinds of like weirdly personal information.
I saw a video of a lady who she was just basically making fun of Christian TikToks and stuff. And at the end, she stumbled upon this app that is a Christian companion AI thing. And it's like you constantly have a lamb companion, and it is very obviously like they've ripped off the Cult of the Lamb art style, but it's just a chatbot that's told to be like super Christian about everything. And it was fucking creepy.
Seth Andrews has entered the chat with his video about how Christianity makes all media worse again.
Sure.
It was a talk that he gave about...
but I'm disappointed now because I got a little bit excited when I heard Seth Andrews has entered the chat.
Oh, no, I'm using this...
saying the thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying the thing, sorry.
It's like, what? Seth Andrews watches our show?
I like Seth.
I got him to record a line for me once. Do you know how Matt Powell has that line where he says, I don't see anything wrong with quote mining?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he said in... I think it was the video that he did with the Raging Atheist. At one point he said, we are all made in the image of God, and that's why a lot of these school shootings happen. And like, he paused at just the right spot where it was like, I know that's not what he's actually saying, but he's on record being okay with quote mining. So I'm going to have Seth Andrews read that for me. So I did, and I had him read it in a dramatic voice while I put some scary music behind it and had the text popping up and everything. It was
That's great.
That's a Matt Powell quote. So we are made in the image of God. That is why school shootings happen.
Fantastic. If he's okay with quote mining, then he has to be okay with that.
Yeah. That was my thinking. I did get people being like, "Oh, if you use their tactics against them, then you're no better than them."
No,
like,
I'm sorry,
no,
but
not for that.
I'm also gonna be that guy, because I've said this in multiple videos before, and I'll say it again. If you, for some reason, believe that you taking the high road and never using any of the shitty tactics of your enemies gives you some kind of advantage on a battlefield, then you don't know a whole lot about warfare. I'm sorry. There are certain things that I do not think we should do, like deliberate misinformation, mostly on a moral standpoint, but I also think that we should be able to use a very, very high amount of the weapons of our enemies.
So... I agree with you, but in the specific instance of the quote that I was mining, I was making it very obvious that that is not what Matt actually intended. I just thought it was a funny thing, and since he's okay with quote mining, I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's not even... Like, to actually quote mine it would be for me to say, hey, did you know Matt Powell said that because we're made in the image of God, that's why school shootings happen? And not clarifying that that was out of context.
Yeah.
But, like... It was in the video where it was like, oh, well, he's on record being okay with quote mining, and then I played the clip of him being okay with it, and then I said, like, so, I had Seth Andrews do this for me, and I played it. So, like, it's very obvious that that's, like, if you actually watch my video and don't quote mine what I'm saying, then I'm actually not quote mining.
That's not confusing at all.
It's not.
No. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
Anyway, so this was a closed-door lecture that he gave to a bunch of people in Rome.
Give me just a second. I heard something weird. I need to check on it.
Can I help you? You need your essence. So, Heidi has gotten into, what's it called? Suncatchers. She's making suncatchers. And right now she's working on one that is, what's it called? What's the name of that show I made you watch? Dark Crystal, that's the one. She's doing a Dark Crystal themed one. And so there's a crystal that is the right shape for the Dark Crystal that's like half purple and half white. So it's like, it's white when it's not broken and it's purple when it is broken, sort of thing. And she's got like this steampunk bird skull thing that the gears that are on it look kind of like the glasses on the one Skeksis that has too many glasses. And she's also got like a little vial that she's going to paint to look like the essence. So she was in here like, I need my essence. So, yeah, our house is full of suncatchers. I think I told you about that. I've still got the hat up there that I don't use as a hat anymore. But I
went ahead and used the opportunity to also use the restroom. But here we are.
I kind of figured something like that was happening. Yeah, you missed me talking about Heidi is making suncatchers, and she's doing a Dark Crystal themed suncatcher right now.
Neat.
You don't sound interested at all. So you know what? I'm glad you missed it then.
Something crystals?
Dark Crystal. You know the movie?
Oh, right. The movie with Dark Crystal. Brain.
And the Gelflings and all that?
I still need to see that movie.
Have you seen the show?
No.
Okay. If you ever decide to watch both of them, just disconnect them from each other in your brain.
Oh?
Because they don't really... Well, the show ends, like, 50 years before the movie begins. And apparently they were supposed to get a second season, but they never did. So it also kind of ends on a cliffhanger.
Fantastic.
So, like, when I watched it, I didn't know any of that, so I watched the show, and then I watched the movie, and I was like... Where the fuck did all the Gelfling go? Who the fuck are these people? Why are there different... Like, it made no sense to me. And it didn't, like... From a plot standpoint... The plot holes weren't, like, completely irreconcilably terrible. But there was... It did kind of have a sense of, like, whoever wrote the show was not, like, a big fan of the movie.
That's
like they
never
were just
a
using,
good sign.
Like they were using the aesthetic, and like I'm gonna say the show was good, the movie was good. Consider them two separate properties.
Gotcha.
Okay, so back to Peter Thiel.
Yay! He wants to end the world. I mean, I'm not super thrilled with the state of it either, but like, I don't think
so. What's funny here is that Peter Thiel is a Trump supporter. But apparently, when he's talking about the Antichrist, he talks about how this guy is going to create a one-world government on the promise of something like stopping nuclear, AI, or climate-induced disaster. Has he paid attention to what Trump is doing? Because, like, he went into Iran to stop the nuclear disaster, even though there wasn't one.
Yeah.
He's going into all these South American countries to stop the drug disaster. And he's getting, like, we just talked about the Ecuador one. Part of that was that, I don't think I mentioned it during the actual news thing, I probably should have, but part of that is that the current Ecuadorian government is basically doing whatever Trump wants them to. So he's basically running them as puppet governments. So, I don't know, like, I don't believe in this Antichrist stuff, but if I did... Trump is ticking the boxes that this guy says that the Antichrist is going to tick.
He's doing all of the things. He's doing everything we would be expecting of them.
Yeah, and he also mentions that, like, he grew up as an evangelical Christian, which, if you watch my video on Zionism, evangelical Christianity and Christian Zionism are inextricably linked and have been since, like, the 1970s. at least. So, yeah, the fact that, and it's the Christian Zionist belief is that when the Jewish people take over the Holy Land again, the entire Holy Land, they will all convert to Christianity, and then Jesus will return and usher in a 1,000-year reign of glory before destroying everybody in the lake of fire or letting them into heaven.
But they won't be converting to Christianity. Why would they? They succeeded under their own religion and under their own volition. What reason do they have to convert?
I think the idea is that Jesus will return, and at the return they will convert, and because they are the chosen people, they're the only ones that are allowed to convert when they see the evidence for themselves instead of believing on faith.
Do they not see anything weird about that, though? Like, it's really weird to go, hey, because you were this particular race of people...
I didn't say it made sense.
You are exempt from hellfire in this specific scenario because you had the privilege to be born with a particular amount of melanin in your skin. Fantastic. That's definitely not racist. Not at all.
Yeah, no, I've always thought it was weird that God had a favorite race of people. Like, even when I was a Christian, I didn't really understand how there was a chosen people. Like, didn't he make all the people? Why is he choosing one over the others?
Jesus loves the little children, but he loves those ones a little bit more than the others.
Yeah, and like, the answers were never really satisfying, because the answers were always something along the lines of, like, oh, well, because they are the ones that are most devoted to him and everything. Like, have you read the Old Testament? Half that book is about them disobeying him and being punished by him.
Yeah, they're the problematic children that are constantly doing shit that dad says not to do.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a whole bit where Moses is, like, pleading with God, saying, like, hey, to save all of my people, can I give up my own salvation, please? Because they keep fucking up, and I don't see how they're going to stop. Okay. They're going to unfuck.
We're thinking of different instances. I was thinking of right after the Ten Commandments, when God was like, hey, they're doing this calf worship thing, which, by the way, if you actually read the story, the Israelites had not met God yet. They just saw a pillar of flame in front of them at night and a pillar of cloud during the day. They didn't have any direct interactions with this God character. And then the only guy that was speaking for God disappeared for more than a month. And they were down there like, what do we do? Like, clearly a god of some kind saved us from slavery. We have to do something to thank this god. And so that was why they made the calf. It was because we don't know who this god is, so we're making this calf to represent the god that saved us from Israel. So they were actually trying to give thanks to the appropriate god. They just didn't know that he had a hang-up about idols.
Because he was really bad at communicating who he was in the first place.
And then God was like, bullshit, these guys made an idol. I'm going to kill all of them. And Moses had to talk him down from his genocide and be like, hey, people, like, what would... Basically, he used a what would the neighbors
think
What would
Jesus do?
No, he used a what would the neighbors think argument. He's like, what would people say if they saw that you brought your people, your favorite race of people, you saved them from slavery, and then you killed them all in the desert? What would people say about you then? And then God was like, okay, I'll only kill 3,000 of them.
The fact that God even would have that conversation when he's an all-knowing God and would therefore know every single rebuttal that possibly could come from Moses' mouth, ignoring the fact that free will also couldn't exist in this scenario.
Mm-hmm. It's such a weird story when you actually think about it and how it would play with the implications of the God that modern Christians believe in if that was the same being. Like, it's just, it's bonkers. It's completely bonkers.
They must be punished for breaking the commandments they didn't know about. Well, you know, ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Did your mother say that to you as well when you said that?
Yep.
The thing I did that was against the rules, I didn't know was against the rules?
Yep.
I got that as well.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse for not obeying the law. Man, I remember as an adult hearing the, even having the conversations with my mom about, like, things are moral because they're legal, and I'm just like, so slavery. Like, the most basic one I possibly could throw at you. Not to be the guy that's like, I owned my mom in a debate, but it is one of those things where you realize as you get older that the people who you looked up to growing up are just as flawed as you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my kids are going to realize that about me at some point. Oh, my middle child beat me at Mario Kart legitimately the other day. Like, actually beat me, not I was going easy. Like, I was trying.
How could you let him do that?
Well, so the excuse that's going through my head is that there were a number of factors. First off, I basically haven't played Mario Kart since we moved into this house, so it's been more than a year that I'm out of practice. And even before that, I wasn't playing it regularly at that point. So I've been out of practice. On top of that, apparently I stopped playing while they were in the middle of like dropping all the like classic tracks or whatever. And so the track that he beat me on was one that I have never played before. So the combination of me being out of practice, me never having played that track before, and him playing the shit out of it for the last several months.
Yeah, there's a variety of factors there, but that's still no excuse.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not.
Suck less.
And I'm not a jerk. I wasn't all like, oh no, yeah, I'm still better than you. I also put I put the computer on hard.
Mm-hmm.
Just like because I know that they play against it on normal or easy. Like if they're playing with the little kids, they play with it on easy, but they play with it on normal normally. So I was like, okay, well maybe if it's on hard, it'll give them more stuff to fight against, and I'll have a better chance. And then no, that backfired on me because I got smoked.
And now suddenly the computer was hard enough to challenge you as well.
Yeah, but it's one of those moments where it's like I'm a combination of like I am proud of my child, but also fuck you, you little shit. I'm so proud of you. Eat shit and die.
I was born in the COD lobbies, raised in their toxicity. You can't say anything that freaks me out.
Oh, I never really liked multiplayer games.
Fair enough.
And
I was super excited when the Conduit came to the Wii because I didn't have an Xbox, so my online multiplayer shooter game got to be Conduit, which was a fucking fantastic game.
Okay. I don't know what Conduit is. I've never played it.
It is a first-person shooter about a government conspiracy about Washington hiding aliens from the masses.
You know, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Pretty much all first-person shooter multiplayer things are the same. It's the same thing with a different skin.
Hard disagree. Only because I've played enough of them to know that there's a... So, like, do you know the term time to kill?
I have heard it.
So in a first-person shooter sense, time to kill is a measurement of how long it usually takes for you to either achieve a kill in a first-person shooter or be killed in a first-person shooter before you go and respawn. A game like Call of Duty has a notoriously low time to kill because the arenas are small and characters' health pools are like a shot to the head and you're gone. A game like Halo has a really long time to kill because of the shields and the fact that characters can jump around and be very, very floaty. And the arenas have a lot of areas that you can hide in them. Then you get to something like Battlefield with an obnoxiously high time to kill because the arenas are so massive, it may take you a very long time before you encounter a person on some maps. That alone, not even counting the different physics for all of the different ways you can run.
It's all the same game with different size maps.
There's more factors in there, though. Call of Duty health system
how many
and
trees
Halo.
There are.
Call of Duty health system and Halo health system are very different from one another. The physics for the characters are very different from one another. There was a whole debacle in the Halo community getting angry at 343 Studios for adding sprint to the game because Halo not having sprint or iron sights was part of its identity versus Call of Duty. Like, there's a lot of fundamental differences behind first-person shooters. And if you look at a first-person shooter... If you look at a first-person shooter like Halo and compare it to, say, Quake, like, those have very different feels to how they run at all in their arenas. It's like saying all fighting games are the same when you play Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter back-to-back.
They are too.
No, they fucking aren't! Absolutely not!
They just have different combos.
No! No! The characters have a very stiff way of moving in Mortal Kombat that is super unique to Mortal Kombat, that does not feel anything like Tekken or Street Fighter or fucking Soul Calibur. Even with Soul Calibur, you could get into the differences between it and something like Tekken, despite the fact that they have 360 movement, but something like Mortal Kombat generally doesn't have 360 movement. Kinma says Rhino's trying to get beat up. No, Rhino's just being... Rhino is just showing, and this is not a moral failing on Rhino's part, though it might be if I wanted to pursue that. This is not a moral failing on Rhino's part. This is just Rhino not being very experienced with a lot of those games, and so the ways that they are different.
Quake?
Uh-huh. And do you think that Quake and Doom are the same?
Yes.
How? How? In what fucking world? In what fucking world is the game with full 360-degree movement and the game that doesn't have a Z-axis the same fucking game? How?
Well, yeah, this is... Okay.
How?
So, okay. So
it makes sense to me. Make it make sense.
No, Quake and Doom are not the same thing. That was just me being
that was you taking the fucking piss.
But,
what is the difference between a loadout shooter and an arsenal shooter, Rhino?
One you start with different weapons, but it's the same weapons all the time, whereas an arsenal one is the one where you'd have to like go and collect them in the arena.
No. So the collect them in the arena one...
Was that at least a good guess?
It's a good guess. You got loadout shooter right. Loadout shooter is the one where you have like the different...
Duct Tape Jake knows where it's at.
Center screen on enemy, click mouse. So yeah, loadout shooter is the one where you've got a pre-set up type of weapons set that you were holding. An arsenal shooter, though, is the one where you have usually a big wheel with about 15 to 16 weapons you can hold at the same time. Usually loadout shooters and the shooter that you're describing, because that's what Halo is. Both of those shooters, you usually are limited to 2 to 3 weapons, whereas an arsenal shooter usually doesn't limit you to how many weapons you can have. So like games like Quake, Ultra Kill, Turok, those are all arsenal shooters that have this huge variety of weapons you can use. Duke Nukem as well. Giant variety of weapons you can use instead of a handful at a time.
I miss GoldenEye.
I don't.
You were an Odd Job player, weren't you?
No, that's called cheating. So fun thing. So I didn't play GoldenEye a lot growing up, but GoldenEye's multiplayer system was actually grafted onto Banjo-Tooie. They put first-person shooter in that game, and they grafted Odd Job's skin onto the Jinjo. So they didn't even learn the lesson of maybe don't have this incredibly short character that ruins game balance. They were just like, nah, let's put an incredibly short character in there as well. We're reskinning everything anyway.
So I never really did the multiplayer in GoldenEye, but I unlocked all the cheats the old-fashioned way by beating the correct level in the correct time on the correct difficulty. Mm-hmm. By grinding over and over again until you could just do it with those shitty N64 controllers.
The N64 controller is the reason I don't want to go back to GoldenEye.
I had a fucking, like, permanent callus, like, on my thumb. I can actually still feel a little bump where the callus used to be. Mm-hmm. Now, that is not so much from GoldenEye, that's more from 1080 snowboarding.
Mine was a callus on the palm of my hand that I got from Mario Party.
Because of the rotating. Do that as well. I didn't learn this technique, but like to do the spin, you put the palm of your hand and spin it around. Yeah, I didn't learn that one. but I did manage to pull off a 1080 with my thumb, and yeah, it's permanently damaged.
I was the
Was that your? You want to show the chat since I was talking about it? Okay, so we've got the Dark Crystal Suncatcher.
Neat.
The Skeksis and the crystal, and this is going to be the essence container. She's going to paint this with sparkly, luminescent type paint sort of thing. So, yeah. So look out for her Etsy store at some point whenever she figures out how to ship these fucking things.
I'm just still sitting here seething in the shooter conversation. So I'm not even a shooter enthusiast, right? So like the reason I like Halo is because of the story. I adore the story of Halo. It's a really, really good one. The books are really good. That's the reason I enjoy Halo. I play the campaign exclusively. However, I've played enough multiplayer in enough shooters to know how like nightmarishly distinct they feel from one another. So I'm just like, that's like saying Super Metroid and Hollow Knight are the same game. They're not. Shut the fuck up.
I guess that's kind of my thing, is that when it comes to the multiplayer aspect of the shooters, where there's no story to speak of, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. I just don't really like it, and so anytime I've been in it, I haven't really been like figuring out which one I like better.
Like playing Call of Duty, like even just on the Wii, playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare versus playing the Conduit feel like super different games. Even though they have very similar control schemes, the Conduit has a lock-on system that gives you the distance from your person that you're looking at in meters. And that alone changes how that game plays drastically. I'm way more comfortable getting in melee combat in Conduit because I can lock on track people, and I can't do shit like that, or couldn't do shit like that in Call of Duty. I'm speaking like these lobbies still exist when they don't exist anymore because we kill games now, which is fantastic. I love video games being temporary things that die.
Mark Fernkoff wants to know about the Beaver game. It's Timberborn. It's a city builder game where you are beavers, and it just finally came out of early access.
Mac Forever says the mere fact that some people are good at some shooters and bad at others should be enough to show that they are not the same. You're right. You get a Quake Pro and you put them on Halo, they are not going to have the dexterity. Like, it doesn't transfer over. Even the way that fucking early Quake, all weapons are hit scan. And hit scan weapons and real bullet weapons operate so fundamentally different from one another in shooters. The fact that Halo had mostly real bullet weapons and a game like Quake is almost all hit scan weapons adds a lot in how different those games play. And that's just fucking bullets. Yeah, hit scale versus projectile.
You can't fucking rocket jump in Halo.
Yes, you can.
Not in what we've played so far.
So we haven't gotten the rocket launcher yet, actually. But
because you can't rocket jump without a rocket launcher.
Yeah, the rocket launcher.
As far as I can tell, there's no rocket launcher in this game.
Rocket launchers later in the story. So for the story, they slowly introduce weapons one-on-one. So you know how we did the sniper mission at night, where you get the snipers in the beginning and you try to get onto the spacecraft. We don't get the shotgun until the flood arrives, I believe. And I think we get the rocket launcher either right before or right after that as a weapon that goes in our arsenal. Sean says, no, they are not XCOM soldiers, actually have worst hit radius. Oh, you guys are talking about XCOM versus Mario and Rabbids. Yeah, sorry. Mario versus Rabbids, XCOM, and Fire Emblem are all the same video game, guys. Sorry, I'm just using Rhino's logic right now. Your anime waifu breeding simulator and your sci-fi military shooter. Same exact game, by the way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But Boring Sword says the gravity in both games is very different. Right, Halo. One of Halo's biggest things always has been the very floaty gravity, whereas if I'm playing Quake, my character is weighty as fuck. And then if I play Call of Duty, my character is even more weighty as fuck.
Moving on.
Are we? Are we really?
We are moving on.
Okay.
I have grown bored of baiting you with this conversation, so we can move on now.
Ah, so you admit it was bait the whole time.
Mostly bait.
Oh, mostly. It was mostly baiting instead of masturbating.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a master mostly baiter.
Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.